Welcome back to the Milwaukee Market update. And guess what? Parking is getting way harder in the Milwaukee area. We're covering real estate news and data and breaking it down to help you understand how it impacts your real estate decisions. Teaser: inventory is up 3x from 2022 and at the same levels as pre-pandemic. Crash?
I don't know, man. We're talking about the housing market and a lot of parking today, apparently. What's the takeaway this episode? Are we in a buyer's market? People are talking about it. Our CEO's talking about it. We're breaking this all down here. It must be true. With a new proposed interstate removal going through downtown, I'm pumped about one thing. Ty's pumped about something different. That's the parking options that will come from that. And what are some of the favorite first-time home buyer neighborhoods here in the greater Milwaukee area?
We're here to give you the info you need to make the right decisions regarding your real estate. Should I buy a home now? Should I be selling? Is the housing market about to crash? Are the headlines I'm reading, content I'm seeing on social media true or irrelevant to me? If you're new to the show or returning because you found value in previous videos, it would mean the world to us if you take a second to subscribe on your favorite podcast listener. You can follow us as well as reach out on Instagram at Horizon Homes MKE or on our website, homewithhorizon.com. I'm Ty.
I'm Nick.
With Compass, your local real estate experts.
Ty, welcome back here. It's May 30th, and guess what? Inventory is up to pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have actually seen this already because it's a scary headline, like, oh my gosh, pre-pandemic inventory.
Yeah, isn't it crazy too how everything we think about now, like each generation has their thing, you know? I think for us it was 9/11 as a kid, but there's always those things that we talk about now as before this happened and after that happened. And the pandemic, I think, is forever not going to be something where it's pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. It's kind of that hard line in the sand of ways to think about things.
Yeah, just new reality.
Yeah, but yes, I've seen this headline come up quite a bit. I saw someone post on Instagram that people talk about how now we're entering into a buyer's market. We've been in this seller's frenzy market for the last 3, 4, 5 years, really. So I saw a realtor post an article about this. I saw someone else post a screenshot of it. And then our own CEO of Compass, Robert Rethkin, was on Squawk Box either yesterday morning or this morning talking about the shift as well too. And he even mentioned as well that we're shifting into a buyer's market. We're in a space where inventory is now above pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. What does this all mean? What's going on here?
I think we should first define, which we've probably done in passing in pretty much all of our episodes, of like what is a buyer's market?
Yeah.
What is a seller's market? And like, is there something in between? Because it feels like a few months ago we were in a seller's market, and now all of a sudden we're instantaneously now in the buyer's market.
Overnight.
What's just kind of like the recession rule of thumb, right? It's like two declining quarters of GDP means it's a textbook recession. Even though I don't think that's the actual thing that they use, but like define it for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest way to think about it is if you're in a buyer's market, it's easy to buy a house.
Yeah.
If you're in a seller's market, it's easy to sell a house.
Yeah.
And then the opposite is true. If you're in a buyer's market, it's hard to sell.
Yeah.
If you're in a seller's market, it's hard to buy.
Yeah.
And Milwaukee's been in a very, very strong seller's market for the last 3 years, meaning that we have low inventory, low options for buyers. If you're a buyer and you're looking at a competitive neighborhood, you may be up against 2 offers, you may be up against 15 offers.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a seller's market means is it's hard out here for buyers, it's a great time for sellers.
Yeah, versus some of our peers across the country, some that might be in Florida, I've got some chats that we go back just talking about our markets each month, and they're like, yeah, I've got a listing on and we're already back up to pre-pandemic days on market, which is like 90 to 120 days on market.
Wow.
And we know that here in Milwaukee, our days on market is like 20,
yeah.
Sometimes creeping down into the teenager level as well.
Yeah.
So those are other factors that show whether it's a buyer's market or seller's market. Just like, I would say those are more like the lagging indicators of it. Like really it's the supply and demand that plays into whether it's a seller's or a buyer's market.
And the main metric that we use to track buyer's market, seller's market is the months of supply, which basically shows if no new homes hit the market for sale today, how many months would it take for all of those homes to sell?
Absolutely.
And so if you're at 1 month of supply, that is a seller's market, that's low. That means it's going to take 1 month for all those homes listed for sale today to sell, versus if you're at 6 months of supply, it's going to take 6 months for all those to sell. It's a buyer's market. And Milwaukee's been right around a 2 months of supply for the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even like 1.5 months.
Even before that, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of the rule of thumb is between what would you say, like 3 to 4 months is kind of a balanced market?
4 to 6.
4 to 6 months is a balanced market.
And like what's like the other like thing that happens in a balanced market is home prices still go up. 4 to 6 months of supply, year over year, you're still going to see the historical long-term average of like 3% price growth year over year. And we pulled up, not only just like the top line inventory number here for the market, but we also found some individual markets where you can kind of actually see what's happening to median sales in some of these, tier 1 markets versus what's going on in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like, what are the differences?
So let's chat about kind of the data behind this.
Yeah.
Because I think how I see this posted, it's basically a screenshot of the active listings for sale. And so let's start there. Right now there are 960,000 homes listed for sale, which is a hard number to kind of wrap your head around. Just under 1 million homes listed for sale. This is April 2025 is the latest data that we have from the Fred data here. If we go to April of 2020, which is COVID happened, I think like March is kind of that pinnacle, because March Madness got canceled. I remember that. I'll never forget that because I was bummed. I had my bracket all ready to go, and I see like, okay, well, what am I going to do on March now? So April 2020, 940,000 homes listed for sale. Right now we're at 960. So yeah, we're above right when the COVID madness started to happen. If we go back to April the year prior, where there was no COVID, so no one even knew COVID was going to happen.
No.
1.1 million homes listed for sale in April 2019. So 1.1 right before COVID in April. Right now we're at 960. So yeah, like it's very much getting closer and closer. And if we look at this trend from really the lowest amount of inventory post-COVID was February 2022.
It's crazy.
And it's been creeping up pretty steadily, getting back to this pre-pandemic level. So that's kind of what's happened at the national landscape level.
The trough, 346,000 homes active for sale. So we're almost hitting like, this is where it's like very interesting. Like we use this comparison in our market of like, we almost have 3 times the number of homes that we had in February 2022 nationwide available for sale now in April 2025, which is a crazy statistic.
Yeah.
But not as crazy when, again, just taking inventory or supply all by itself, you got to remember the context of February 2022, rates were still at like 3.5%. And as soon as those rates started going up, inventory went along with it. And with rates essentially staying static at, let's just call it 7%, slowly we've seen inventory climbing, and there's more competition between sellers trying to sell their home and some being more willing to price more aggressively versus the ones that are trying to price aspirationally.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at like what this looks like in terms of some of our bigger markets out there, because oh my gosh, so much inventory is coming. Yeah. What does that mean by market? And we're going to look at Miami, Austin, Phoenix, and of course
wrap it up with Milwaukee.
Yeah,
let's go.
The stallion that's out there right now. So what we have out there for the all metro areas, I guess it's always good to start there.
And we're looking at what market here?
This is all United States.
Okay.
Median sales price right now is $394,000, 2% up 2% versus a year ago for pricing.
Okay.
I think that's a really good baseline to start with. Within the months of supply, naturally, as soon as I change the page, it pivots and changes a little bit here. But for our months of supply, we're looking at, let's call it roughly 3 months of supply.
Okay.
So still sitting very much nationwide in a balanced market. We were in a balanced market pre-COVID. That's where 1 million homes to 1.3 million homes is going to be 3 to 4 months of supply, given that demand stays the same. Diving into Miami now, median sales price. This is actually, I'd say, somewhat surprising, is at $586,000. That's up 8% year over year. And if you guys have been listening to our past episodes, doesn't Miami have a ton of inventory? Yes, yes they do. Right now they have 47 weeks of supply, which more or less is like 10 months, give or take, of inventory. That is let's call it a burning buyer's market.
You have options
get your
to choose
tons
from.
of options under the covers there. I think a ton of this inventory that's challenged is condos that it's hard to get financing on. But single family homes, as long as they're priced correctly, kind of like ours, are still moving relatively quickly if you look at the grand scheme of the market.
Okay.
Next up, now we've got Austin, Texas, where we have median sales price right now is $450,000, down 3%. So now this is one of the markets where, very well known boom and bust, let's call it, type of market coming out of COVID. And essentially every single month of this year has been declining anywhere from down 1% to down 4% in price year over year. So this is one of our core markets that we see declining prices. Again, as we compare it to other markets, the months of supply here is actually sitting at five months.
Okay.
So 26 weeks, which puts them pretty much right
in the middle,
like kind of top end, pretty much closer to, let's just call it, full on, that's buyer's market territory. So interesting to see those two. Phoenix, this is probably of all the markets, we were looking at this chart beforehand, where what's really nice about all this data coming from Redfin is they actually have like the actual price line chart, and then they have the percent change year over year chart. So you can actually kind of see very quickly what that looks like. Median price up 1% year over year in the Phoenix market. What's really interesting going back to that 2022 is the second that rates changed, they went from up 28% price growth year over year to the very last week of 2022, around Christmas time, home prices went down 2%. So that's a trend change of almost 30% in 1 year just because of rates. This is historically like one of the best known boom and bust markets in Phoenix. But again, what we're seeing right now is they're actually seeing price growth of up 1% year over year, with the months of supply, again, determining whether or not we're in a buyer or seller market. Right now, that's sitting at, let's give it take 4 months of supply. So still relatively balanced. But given all this, we have to wrap it all up. What does this mean for Milwaukee, right? Because we've got all this inventory coming. Does that mean I'm totally screwed and my home's value is going down? No, if you go to redfin.com and you go look at Milwaukee metro area median sales price, up 5% year over year, 350,000. And right now we have not had a single negative year over year price decline since 2022 in our market, with our months of supply still sitting around 2 months of supply, like we was talking about.
Yeah.
So it's very important to understand your local market, and even getting a little bit more into the weeds, which obviously everyone knows I love to do.
Yeah.
Like our market is just drastically different than Miami, and it's different from Phoenix and different from Austin. And what's like, again, there's sometimes you even have to look at that out of like even Austin is kind of, Miami is surprising.
Kind of an anomaly with there, And I think too, looking at the inventory of homes for sale, just in the, I pulled this for Ozaukee, Milwaukee, and Waukesha County. Look at where we are now compared to pre-pandemic, and I think we're still sitting around 60%, 70% of the inventory before getting to the pre-pandemic level. I mean, the inventory kind of looks the same Milwaukee-wise from 2022 to 2025. It's basically you can just copy and paste that chart each year over and over, and it's more or less the same.
No decline of inventory.
Yeah, seasonally it goes up and down, but more or less that line has kind of been flat. And so I think, and I even had a client text me and said, hey, like, are you seeing prices soften in Milwaukee? Are you seeing days on market go up? And I think we see it in certain markets here in Milwaukee. The first-time home buyer market, called that like 200 to 500K price point, is still uber competitive.
Yeah.
Anything like 700K and up, maybe there's some softening happening there, but we're not seeing it at that first-time home buyer price point. It's still extremely competitive, and I think it's really, really important if you're in the market right now as a buyer or a seller to know what your local market looks like, because I think the topics that I'm seeing online, the what would you call it, like the theme, the messages out there is that it's a buyer's market, it's shifting, things are changing, and that's true in some markets and at a broad level, but it's not true for every single market. And make sure you understand what your local market looks like if you're entering the market, because you got to know this data. Because if you're relying on it being a buyer's market in Milwaukee and you're going out looking at homes and thinking it's going to be easy, it's going to be, it's not hard, but it's going to be an awakening for you and a bit of a mindset shift
Yeah, and I think that the headlines, everyone reads the headlines, and one that you see right now is the active inventory is climbing, it's at pre-pandemic levels. The other one that we see most commonly is that transactions are down. The housing market is down year over year. They just say generally the housing market is down. What they're speaking to is number of transactions, and if there's no new inventory, it's hard to have transactions. Like transactions are down 3% year over year right now, and as we look at these other years in 2023, they were down 21% year over year. So like the number of transactions happening are down, but people still want housing, and it's driving prices up still.
Cool.
Yeah, what do we got next here? We got some articles and data.
Yeah.
So this got text ordered to me today. I just kind of got the snippet here, is affordable housing being proposed in Shorewood.
Cool.
So this is proposed on the 4400 block on the east side of Oakland. There's currently a parking lot there. They're looking to introduce more housing, apartment style, coming into Shorewood. I think that's great overall. I mean, Shorewood already is like incredibly dense.
Yeah.
And it's, super. I mean, I've seen 2-bedroom, 1-baths that don't have dishwashers rented for $2,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously everywhere you are in Shorewood is a great location, which is what we always talk about. Like, what's the condition of the unit and what's the location of it is going to equal what your rent price or what your sales price is going to be. So I think overall, this is a good thing in terms of just getting more availability in the market to give some relief, and I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's great though. I think it's cool to see more of these programs happening. I think it's exciting for Shorewood too, that it's taking place in a neighborhood like that in a city. So yeah, excited to see this kind of thing happen here.
Yeah, the only thing I'm not excited about is we need parking.
Yeah.
You have to park like 2 blocks off Oakland now. It's like parking downtown almost anytime you want to go anywhere. So hopefully they can make a solve for that of making sure there's like underground parking or something. But we'll see what the plans look like. But that's relatively newer there in my backyard.
Nice. So something else that's kind of shifting in Milwaukee here. It's been a topic we've talked about for a long time, man. The I-794 interchange, which basically splits the 3rd Ward from downtown. And it's been on the docket for Milwaukee to do something with this for a long time. And essentially what the Wisconsin DOT has done is they kind of laid out the 3 options that's possible for that interchange. One of them is do nothing, keep it as is.
Classic.
One of them is essentially replace it with a raised freeway. It'd be less traffic than an interstate, there'd be fewer exits, but remove it, but still use it kind of in the same way. And then the third one is totally removal and replace it with city level streets.
Gone.
That'd
be great.
None of these would be happening until 2027. So no decisions gonna be made for 2+ years. But this has been something that's been super top of mind for the city and for the DOT to do something with that interstate. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, I have a thought because yesterday I was going down to the public market to buy a gift for a client, and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it is.
It's like I had to get off past the public market at Jackson and then like loop around, and then there was no parking, so I had to go fight with the hop, go across Broadway, fight like pedestrian traffic, loop around, there was no parking, come back around again. So I spent about 10 minutes just driving circles around.
Yeah, welcome to,
yeah.
This is classic for someone that lives in the suburbs to go downtown and go, man, what's going on with parking down here?
But I will say,
you've been spoiled.
Then eventually I got lucky and I parked right next to those pickleball courts, which was right across the street. So I'm like, oh, clutch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what would really be nice is, and I think this is the third option of the removal and just like improving and rerouting it, is like, if as soon as you get to the tip of the 3rd Ward on the west side, just being in it and like driving into it, and maybe if you can remove some of these massive pillars that are holding up this interstate, does it make more space for parking, or maybe even parking structures down there to increase the level of parking and maybe the affordability of parking down there.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's hard to build things up, massive road above all these like the public market needs 3 levels of parking and it has 1.
Yeah, that place cleans up too. I think the city of Milwaukee has a cool history with doing projects like this. And when I first moved here 8 years ago, there's a pick and save off of Ogden, kind of by the wing spot, points east. And back in the day, the interstate used to go right there, which if you drive in that now, thinking the interstate goes to that part of Milwaukee would be crazy.
Yeah.
Like it would literally drop you off like in the middle of the downtown area. And they opened that up, and it's created now this entire community and living space out there with apartments, retail space. It makes the city less segmented. I honestly couldn't imagine what it would look like before.
Yeah.
And yeah, parking would be cool, but I think more just creating the connectiveness of the downtown, because you have a giant interstate that segments the downtown. It's not very pretty. I think it could open up businesses, opportunities for the downtown space, bring more people living downtown. So I'm more excited about this, not from a parking perspective. I know you've got a recent encounter with that, but more just what this could mean for the city. Because I know the city also has big plans, the 2030 plan that they have of
2040.
2040. Thank you. Hold me to that.
Wish it was 2030.
Same, of creating more walkable space, more transit, more parks, making downtown more of a community. And I think they've done a really good job in certain parts, like the Deer District. There's hotels going there. So this to me makes a lot of sense for what their plans are. I would love to see it totally removed. I also never go on that, so to me it's a little bit different because I have no reason to go on that interstate. Either way though, I'm excited to see the controversy this creates, because whenever there's a big decision like this, there's always going to be people super happy, super pissed, people that don't care.
The long-term play is go snatch up all of those condos that are right off 794, because I feel like all of those that have the patio north facing, if that gets like taken down and it's like not as noisy, not as busy, awesome.
Yeah, because I've been to some of those condos before.
Yeah.
And they have on the top level like a common patio space. Me and a client were up there, and we're like, yeah, this is kind of cool, but you literally 20 feet in front of you is the interstate. You can't hear anything at all. And it was like rush hour too, but even if it wasn't rush hour, you're not up there enjoying yourself.
Yeah, inside those condos, they're great. I mean, they're super well insulated. Like the windows are great. You can't really hear anything, but yeah, that would be sweet for those condo owners.
It's a good idea.
Otherwise, I know you don't have any fun games for me today, so instead I came with just a fun exercise for us of the favorite Milwaukee neighborhood for first-time homebuyers, where to find value, charm, and community, but the median price has to be less than $375,000, which removes places like Wauwatosa, which is obviously the first thing that's like, oh, the village is so cute, so much charm. It's the first place you move when you move outside of downtown. So Tosa, not an option.
Okay.
Hit me with it. What's your option? I'll share mine.
Yeah, to me, I think Bayview is the first community that comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
It's removed from the city enough where you have a little bit more space. You have a ton of parks down there. You've got a great, the culture of Bayview, I think is really cool. People love that area. They take pride in living in Bayview. You got a lot of restaurants, a lot of shops, good nightlife, great community, breweries. So I think that comes to mind.
That's under $375,000. Bayview's hot, so.
Have you looked it up?
I haven't.
357.
Okay.
So we're under. We're under.
Nose.
We are under.
Okay.
And then I also think kind of a sleeper pick here, but in Dearest Park. Super quaint community, just north of Tosa. Actually, some of our friends bought a house there. I think they closed on it a couple weeks ago. And they have their own little association in there, which you don't really see in Milwaukee.
Yeah, kind of like a Brewers Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All the homes are super cute, charming, very walkable. They do a big Halloween every year. I had some clients that bought a house there, and 2 weeks after they closed, the HOA president called me and was like, hey, can I get their information and their names? We do goodie baskets that we drop off at their house. So it's a good community there. It's affordable as well too, and it's got really cute, charming older homes that have a lot of character too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll unveil mine here, and actually, of course, I have data to back up why people are loving this so much. But I'm looking at like the Blue Mountain Heights neighborhood, kind of around Maxie's. Just I'll call it South Fringe of Tosa, which is sitting at a attractive $300,000 median sales price in April, $294,000 on the year. This is going to blow your face off a little bit though. Months of supply, 0.25.
Wow, crazy! It is a small.
It is very small.
It is a small area.
It's a great price point. Anything that's like $350,000 and less is great here. Some of the attractions and like the reasons people like this is, again, you've got Blues Egg, which is right there in the corner of essentially where it becomes Wauwatosa. You've got Maxie's. You're not far from the Brewers Stadium. You're like less than a 10-minute commute to downtown. You're like a 15-minute commute to like anywhere else you want to go, north, west, south, wherever you want to go. And also for like one of the main employers, Freighter or Medical College of Wisconsin, it's just a super attractive area to get to most of the critical employers that we have in our area.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite affordable markets. And I also included that slight little portion south of Blue Mountain Heights, south of 94, that's just on the fringe of West Dallas as well. Those are just two spots I like because of the convenience factor.
Yeah,
you've got a little bit of white noise in the background, but as long as your backyard isn't the interstate, you'll never notice it.
Yeah, good call. I like that one.
Perfect. Well, with that, obviously look into a couple of these favorite first-time home buyer markets. Obviously, mine being the more affordable option, with maybe a little bit more, maybe not the exact same charm as our nice old Bayview counterpart. But if you found value in the episode that we have here today, take a second to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast listener. Catch us next week here on the Milwaukee Real Estate Market Update.
Bye, guys.